While the launch of the Xbox Series X hasn't been exactly packed with major first-party releases, there have been a few key third-party titles marketed that take advantage of the new hardware. One of those being the aerial dogfighting game, the Falconeer. This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and here's our rapid-fire review of this Falcon-focused Xbox Series X launch title. In my initial preview of the Falconeer, I praised the game's gorgeous art style and captivating environments. These two elements remain the highlights of my time with this game. Some of my favorite moments simply came organically while serenely exploring this semi-open world. The initial feeling of taking flight as a falcon rider is a pretty magical introduction to the game, and it genuinely takes a bit of focus and engagement to truly master the mobility of these elegant creatures. The subtle forces of nature and their importance to navigating the map is where the Falconeer shines. For players looking for a bit more action in their experience, the game also features some intense aerial combat that incorporates classic dogfights reminiscent of titles like Crimson Skies or Panzer Dragoon. You'll fight an array of deadly enemies based on the faction you're currently playing as, and eventually get to square off with some rather nasty boss encounters. Getting used to the combat does take a little time, but once everything clicks with the targeting mechanics, enemy encounters generally feel great and rewarding. Another element of this title I really enjoyed was the cryptic way the overarching story was presented. You essentially take control of different warring factions throughout the 4 main chapters of the game, experiencing unique perspectives and ideals from opposing militias. You can play them in any order, but ultimately, you're experiencing almost the same timeline for each chapter. Player deaths also grant you additional insight into this mysterious world through the stories of a curious shaman. It wasn't necessarily the most gripping video game storytelling, but it was presented in a really cool way. While there's certainly a lot to love about the Falconeer, there were also a handful of serious faults that really put a damper on my enjoyment of the game. The first and definitely most frustrating comes in the form of brutal difficulty spikes deep within stages. Normally dying in a game doesn't really bother me. I often enjoy a good challenge, but without in-mission checkpoints, you have to replay the entire stage and rewatch the introductory dialogue every single time you die. There were missions where I hit a wall of enemies and died within a few seconds after being 10 minutes into a stage. Replaying the same 10 minutes over and over was downright exhausting at multiple points of my playthrough. My other major complaint stems from a lack of variety in both missions and customization. After a few hours of playing, you've basically seen every mission type the game has to offer. It essentially boils down to combat missions, escort missions, and delivery missions, and each of them play out in a very similar fashion. This repetition in mission design might be easier to ignore if there was meaningful progression for your character. But outside of a few basic upgrades, there isn't much to customize. With the Falconeer being close to a dozen hours, it's very tragic that the back half feels more like a chore than a game. After having a very positive initial experience with the Falconeer, I can't help but feel slightly disappointed by the final product. Like I said before, there's genuinely a lot to love about this beautiful game, especially when it comes to world design, art style, and unique storytelling. But there are a few glaring flaws that some players won't be able to overlook. If you're a flight fan looking for a gorgeous showcase of 4K, 120 FPS gameplay on the Series X, this is a solid option. But casual players might have a tough time really connecting with the Falconeer. What are your thoughts on the Falconeer? Did you pick up this title at launch? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button. For more Xbox and PC content, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.